I'm Larry Todd, the Chief of Police, spelling's T-O-D-D. The Solano County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy of the body found Friday morning in rural Napa County. The results of the autopsy confirm that it was our missing person, Phuong Le. The victim was identified through fingerprints. The family has been notified of this positive identification. The cause of death is being withheld at this time because of the potential value it has in our ongoing criminal investigation. This case is now being investigated as a homicide. Today we interviewed Miss Lee's two brothers with the assistance of the FBI. They have both been extremely cooperative and are not considered suspects or persons of interest in this investigation. Additional interviews are being conducted with other individuals who have had past contacts with Miss Lee and will continue to follow up on other leads as they develop. At this time, there is no definitive suspects in this case. If anyone has information regarding the murder of Phuong Le, they are urged to contact the Fairfield Police Department at 707-428-7600, or they can call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 707-644-7867. I'd now like to introduce Lieutenant Darren Moody, who is in charge of our Detective Bureau, who will make a few additional comments and then answer your questions.
Good afternoon. On 5/7/2010, the deceased body of a female was discovered in Napa County along Highway 121. The body was discovered by a woman that had stopped on the side of the road to give her dog a break during a drive through Napa. On that date, Napa County investigators were contacted by the Fairfield Police Department regarding the description of the female, and it was believed that the body could be that of our previously reported missing person, Phuong Le. Police then began working with the FBI to gather evidence at the scene and confirm the identity of the deceased. The body was transported to Solano County Coroner's Office that evening. On 5/10, the Solano County Coroner confirmed that the deceased female found in Napa was Phuong Le, reported missing from the Fairfield-Sassoon area on 4/26. The family was notified at approximately 3 p.m. this afternoon. Fairfield Police Department has now classified this as a homicide investigation and will continue working with our partnering agencies to solve this crime. The tip line will remain open for the foreseeable future. Anyone with information regarding this crime is encouraged to contact Fairfield Police, Solano County Crime Stoppers, or our tip line.
Lieutenant, any idea what the motive would be for this crime?
No, sir, I do not.
How long had she been dead when the body was discovered?
They're still finishing up with some of the evidence, but we felt it necessary to get this done immediately. So I don't have the exact timeline on it at this moment.
Did it appear that the body was decomposing?
It's fair to say the body had been there for some time.
Lieutenant, did you say that she was pregnant?
She is not pregnant.
So you know how she died. You're withholding it. Was it a violent death?
I think any death at the hands of another could be considered a violent death.
Can you tell us if it was a stranger abduction? Have you ruled that out?
We have not ruled anything out at this time.
Can you characterize your interest in interviewing the brothers if they're not suspects or persons of interest?
We have interviewed the brothers several times, and a lot of that is to gather background information: who, what, why, when, where, people she has contacted. As we develop information, we have had hundreds of phone calls come into the tip line, hundreds of phone calls come into the police department. As we follow up on these, sometimes it's necessary to go back and contact the family and see where these are in relation to them.
You said that this was the death at the hands of another. Was there evidence during the autopsy that showed how she was killed?
If we classify it as a homicide, that is the definition of homicide: death at the hands of another.
So it's just a generic definition of this? Or
At
was
this
there evidence that suggests how she was killed?
We will not be releasing that evidence immediately.
So the cause of death has been determined.
A preliminary cause of death has been determined, yes. As I said earlier, they're still conducting some of the follow-up.
Do you have any evidence at the scene that will give you any strong leads to the suspect?
We will be working with, again, our partnering agencies As you all are aware, the FBI, DOJ, a lot of people will be involved in this investigation to do some follow-up on that evidence.
Lieutenant, there's rumors going around town that there was another murder in town. Is that true, and is there a connection with any other case? I've heard that from 4 people today.
Well, the chief's standing here with myself, and to our knowledge, there has not been another murder in Fairfield.
Was there a body found clothes or parts?
There are parts of the investigation we'd like to keep confidential for the moment, because the investigation is still going.
You have executed 2 search warrants in relationship to a former employer. Have you executed any other search warrants since that?
We've executed 2 physical search warrants at locations. We have executed other search warrants. Sometimes writing a search warrant is as simple as phone records, computer records, etc. So we anticipate, we haven't done some, and we will anticipate further, yes.
There's only been those 2 physical locations at the home of Mr. Nguyen, and that is the place of business, postal press. Those have been only the 2 physical locations with warrants.
Correct.
So you clearly have exonerated these brothers, but what about this former employer? Can you go that far?
How far?
Well, to say that you're not a suspect, he's not a person of interest.
We've interviewed him, as you have reported. We have not released that information. He came out and gave that information out. We will not rule anybody out at this time.
For the people of Fairfield and Napa County, can you say whether she was targeted or whether there was a killer on the loose?
I wish I had an answer for you for that. I really don't.
So is it possible then that this was a stranger abduction?
At this point, as I said earlier, anything is possible. We are not ruling out anything.
Do you have any idea of the timeline of this investigation? Are you starting with very little, or do you think you're well on your way to making an arrest?
I wouldn't classify it as well on our way to making an arrest. I will say we have some information we're moving forward on. The investigation is already into its 13th, 14th day. So we do have some information, and as I mentioned earlier to you, the evidence collected at the scene will add more to that.
Lieutenant, the FBI was called in for this autopsy with some special equipment or special type of items that we saw them bring in. Describe what those were, why they brought in the autopsy.
I was not at the autopsy, but I can give you a generic information as to what they have. They have resources that we don't have. They have capabilities that we don't have. Therefore, we partner with some of these agencies, just as we do with Sassoon Police Department, Fairfield Police Department. As you're well aware, the federal government may have more resources than we do. So when we have the opportunity to work with them, they've been very cooperative. They've offered their services.
Just to ask my last question a little more directly, Mr. Nguyen, is he a suspect or a person of interest?
He's not classified as a suspect at this time.
What about a person of interest?
We haven't ruled out anybody in this, as I said earlier.
Except the brothers?
Correct. They've cooperated with us. We've interviewed them. Is there any further questions?
You cannot say what type of weapon, if any, was used.
Correct. Due to the fact that we're still interviewing folks and going through with the investigation, we feel that that would jeopardize prosecution if that were released immediately.
Could you tell us perhaps how long she's killed? Is there reason to believe she's killed even if she was abducted?
As I stated earlier, we're still following up on that. The autopsy in the coroner's office are not complete. They're still working with the investigators right now.
Has anyone been detained? I know you said you're questioning people. Any of those people been detained?
No, ma'am.
So they're free to leave?
Yes, ma'am.
How far from the side of the road was it?
I can give you an estimate, and the estimate would be probably 30 to 40 feet off the side of the road.
Does she have any connection to the county?
I'm sorry, sir, say again?
Any history with the deceased in that county?
That would be a good example if somebody asked why we were talking to the family, because when she's found outside the normal area, we do start talking to the family and friends and try and find those connections. We have none that has been apparent to us at this point.
Since her car was parked at the Barnes & Noble, do you have any idea how she got to the location?
No, sir, we do not.
This classification is a homicide now, usually. Does that give any resources or any steps to actually take down?
As I said from the beginning of this, when we started this investigation 14, 15 days ago now, we hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Obviously, this is the worst. And so we have treated this from the beginning as we would if we were investigating a homicide, a kidnapping, etc. So we have treated it as a serious offense from the beginning.